And so learning things from scratch would be notebookLM. Once you learn it, then you can implement it with Google Flash. And then once you run into some errors with Google Flash, you can ask Claude on how to actually fix the errors. So basically everyone that's watching this video, I want you to know that we're on the same IQ level, most likely. I'm not anything special, but since I've been in AI for a couple of years, I know exactly what tools to use to learn things 1,000 times faster. And I'm not even kidding when I say 1,000 times faster, because over the past 6 months, not only have I made the most money in my entire life, but I'm learning at a rate that's allowing me to just get ahead of everyone. And so in this video, guys, my goal is to share the 3 exact tools that I use to learn things as fast as humanly possible. And I hope it helps you guys when you're building out your agencies, building out your automations, and building out your AI softwares. So like, subscribe. Without further ado, let's dive right into this video, boys. So today we're going to be talking about 3 specific examples and how I use these 3 tools to actually learn things and implement my automations or build softwares faster than most people. And the first one we're going to talk about, guys, is Google Flash 2.0. Because Google Flash 2.0 is the first AI model that can not only see your screen, but can conversate with you about the information that's on your screen. So in this example, we're going to build out an automation together, but we're going to build it out by having Google Flash tell us exactly what to do. And so the beautiful thing about this is that you're going to be learning by doing. Now, the next one is Claude 3.5. And so what I love to use Claude for is actually sending in my automation files when they're broken, because Claude can read the JSON file that your automations are written in. I'm going to show you guys exactly how we use that in today's video as well. And what I'm most excited for, guys, is notebookLM, because what notebookLM does that the other 2 don't do is that it basically allows you to conversate with an AI model that is trained on all of the information that you send it, and you're able to conversate it in the way that you're talking to like a professor. And so this, hands down, is the best formula to learn anything from scratch. Because if you don't know anything, especially if it's a really complicated concept, you're going to want to learn by having someone explain it to you in simple English. You don't want someone to be like, oh yeah, an edge function is basically a serverless function that occurs between the client and the server on this, close to the server. No, fuck that. You want to be able to learn in simple English. And so we're going to get into that as well. So let's break down the first example in today's video, which is Google Flash 2.0. What we're going to do is we're going to go into a make.com automation, and we're actually going to build it from scratch. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to give our Google AI Studio access to view this automation screen, and we're going to conversate with it to actually build out our first automation. And so when you guys are building out your automations from scratch and not using a blueprint that I'm giving you, this is exactly how I do it. And we're going to choose the output format today as audio, but you can also switch it to text, which is also really, really useful. But today we're just going to keep it as audio. Now we're going to make the screen half the size. We're going to drag this down, and then we're going to click share screen. And so the screen window that we're going to choose is the make.com scenario. And so the moment that I click this, I'm actually going to begin my conversation with the AI Studio. So let's start that right now. Hey Gemini, so I want us to build a make.com automation together that scrapes YouTube videos, and I want to use this platform called Appify to do it. And I want you to basically break down the first modules that I need to actually build out this automation.
All right, the user wants to build a make.com automation that scrapes YouTube videos and use the platform called Appify to do it. They also want you to break down the first modules that are needed to build out this automation. Would you like to proceed with that?
Yeah, tell me what to do.
Okay, the first step is to add a new scenario to the make.com platform, which can be done by clicking the New Scenario button at the top left of the screen. After this, you'll need to choose your trigger, which in this case would be YouTube. Do you want to proceed with these steps?
Yep, let's do that. So let's start with the first module.
Great, you've created a new scenario. Now you need to select the first module. You can do that by clicking the plus sign in the middle of the screen. Do you want to continue?
Yep, so I'm going to click this plus button in the middle of the screen. Now what module should I choose?
Okay, since you are trying to scrape YouTube videos, you should choose the YouTube module.
Okay, and then I'm inside of the YouTube module now. Which trigger should I choose?
Okay, you're inside the YouTube module. Since you want to scrape videos, you'll need to pick a trigger. Would you like to watch videos in a channel, search for videos, watch videos in a playlist, or watch new comments?
I think I want to do it when the video, when a video is published on my channel.
All right, then you should choose watch videos in a channel as your trigger.
And then so you would then continue to go through this entire automation to actually get what you want to solve, right? So that was our quick little tutorial with Gemini, because as you go through this automation, Gemini is going to have more context of the automation. So it's going to be able to help you more and more as it gains an understanding of what it's looking at. And so the first step that it told us to do was actually correct, because when you open up this module, you could literally just choose the YouTube account that you are attached, that you want to attach this to, and it'll trigger every single time a video gets made. And then so from there, let's just say we wanted to get the script of the video. Then I would ask Gemini, how do I get the script from the video? It'll say, okay, do this, open that module, etc., etc., etc. Now let's say we reached a point in the automation where Gemini couldn't solve the error. That is where you then bring in Claude. So that's where we talk about the second part of this entire learning curve, right? So the Claude 3.5 step. So let's just say we ran into an error here. All we would have to do is click export blueprint, and we can literally just go into Claude right here, and we can drag in the JSON file. So we can literally just say, hey, I want to build script into a Airtable database. And so now Claude is literally going to analyze the automation that we sent it. And so all we sent it was that one YouTube module automation. So it's not going to give us, too much breakdown of what's wrong with the automation. But as you guys can see here in our response, it's going to now tell us what we need to do next, right? So after the YouTube trigger, you'll need to add these modules in sequence. So YouTube, then get video details / transcript, and then Airtable, create the record to store the transcript, right? And then so you can go ahead and you can try what Claude just said to you, and you can have Gemini watch as you do it. And so these two work hand in hand absolutely beautifully when it comes to actually learning something from scratch. But now guys, let's talk about notebookLM, because what notebookLM does is it allows you to send up to 50 different file sources to one singular location. And that singular location then converts all of that information into a freaking podcast. And so this is where you want to send in the concepts that are the most new to you. Things that you have seen recently that you've never learned in your life. That is exactly when you use notebookLM, because you can send it all of this information. And so in this example, guys, let's say I was trying to learn how to play the game of Monopoly like the best players in the world. Okay, so now that we're back in the computer, guys, we're gonna open up notebookLM. We're gonna create a new conversation. And here's where we start uploading all of the different sources, right? And so the way that I do this is by using two different AI models that are both free. The first one is Perplexity, because Perplexity can grab data from the internet with citations. So it's not just giving you information, it's also showing where it came from, and we can send those links to notebookLM. So in this example, I'm gonna write, I want to become the best Monopoly player, but I don't know how the game is played. Break down how to become the best player in the world. Okay, so now that we got that response, guys, we can see that it gave us 10 different sources that we can now copy and paste into that notebookLM, right? So I'm gonna copy this link address. We're gonna go back into notebookLM, and now we can just start pasting these website URLs, right? So we're just gonna insert one. We can grab this one. We would then add this one in. Insert. Now we can also enter in a whole text field as well. And so we would go into Claude and we would just be like, break down in depth the strategy that the best players in the world use for the game Monopoly. On one side, we're getting the links of how the game of Monopoly is actually played. And on the other side, we're getting the information on how to actually become the best Monopoly player in the world by analyzing what the best players in the world are already doing. And so this is going to be a completely different input that we give to the notebookLM. And so as you guys can see, Claude is absolutely churning out thousands of tokens breaking down this entire strategy, right? And so we're just going to copy the text version, and we're going to go back into notebookLM. We're going to add the source, and here we have the copy text field. So we're going to go into there, I'm going to paste that baby in, click insert. And so now we have, in my opinion, enough sources to actually generate this podcast. And so that's what we're gonna do next. And while that conversation's happening, guys, feel free to hit this video with a like and subscribe. If you guys are looking to build your own AI agencies, your own AI automations, or your own AI software companies, then definitely consider joining the No Code Academy, because we're trying to build one of the dopest communities of people that are all like-minded in one of those three fields. all working together to, hit their goals in 2025. All right, guys. So the podcast has now been generated, and so we can literally just hop into it and actually start a conversation. And so I'm going to start the podcast, and then when I feel I need to now ask a question, I'll pause it, and then you'll see how I'm going to learn how the game of Monopoly is played and how I'm going to start formulating my own strategy to win. So let's start.
Okay, so someone sent in a whole bunch of articles about Monopoly strategy, which I gotta say kind of tells me you're not messing around.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's looking to be a real estate mogul.
For sure.
Even if it's just on that little cardboard board, right?
It certainly seems that way, yeah. and you've got some really great sources here, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've got everything from just the basic rules to, like, tips for family games all the way to, oh, wait, someone wants to join. Hey, go for it.
Hey guys, so the first thing I want to learn here is just how the game is played. So can you just quickly summarize how the game is played first?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. That's a great place to start.
Yeah, it's good to make sure we're all on the same page.
So at its heart, Monopoly is about becoming the ultimate landlord.
Yeah, the one with all the cash and all the property.
And everyone else is bankrupt, right?
Aha, that's the goal, yeah.
So you move around the board by rolling dice.
And then you can buy the properties you land on.
Exactly, if they aren't owned yet.
And if you don't buy, there might be an auction.
Right, and once you own properties, you can develop them.
With those houses and hotels to charge even more rent.
And there are those chances.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask about the strategy, because let's say I now know how to play the game, so let's talk about strategy.
Community chess card. Oh, back to our listener.
So I want to now know what the strategy I should have to actually win this next game of Monopoly I'm playing, because I'm playing against some friends for like $1,000. So what would be like the best strategy that you could give me?
Absolutely. That's a great question and a very practical one.
Yeah, $1 is a lot of money if you're playing Monopoly with friends.
So you're looking for some concrete strategies to win your next game.
And we've got just the stuff for you.
So we can definitely get into that.
We were just about to talk strategy, actually.
Right, so let's jump right into the deep end.
Yeah, that'll make you a serious force to be reckoned with.
We've got some great insights here, like the 8 tips to win Monopoly.
Okay, and then we also have the rules straight from Guru Blog.
And then this other source, that seems to be on a whole other level.
Yeah, it's like a Monopoly championship playbook. It's intense.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
But if you're
Okay, so let's break down the championship playbook.
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
Yeah, let's dive straight into the deep end.
So this championship playbook, as you called it.
Yeah, I like that.
It really emphasizes the different phases of the game.
Okay.
It breaks down strategies into early, mid, and late game.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's not just about the rules. It's also about understanding your opponents.
Right.
So let's get into those strategies.
Yeah, let's do it.
Starting with the early game.
All right.
The focus is all about property acquisition.
Okay, that makes sense.
The goal is to buy as many properties as possible.
Even if it means spending a lot of your cash.
Exactly.
So that's actually really good advice. In the short term, in the beginning part of the game, no matter what property you land on, you should be purchasing it. So that's perfect because you can make trades or whatever. So now let's talk about the end game, and then we'll finish out this video.
That having more property. Oh yeah.
Okay, so that was pretty cool about your breakdown of the early game strategy. So now let's talk about the end game strategy. What should I do to actually beat the last player I'm up against?
Absolutely. I'm glad you're finding this helpful, and it's great you're thinking ahead to the late game.
Yeah, it's good to focus on how to win, especially if you're down to the final player.
So let's skip right ahead to that late game strategy then.
Yeah, and we'll make sure you are equipped to dominate that last player.
This championship playbook we've been talking about, it really shines in the late game.
Yeah, it's when things get really strategic.
So in the late game, the key is all about survival and squeezing out the last player.
Yeah, every move counts at that point.
Exactly. So the house shortage tactics we touched on, those become crucial.
Right.
You're not trying to build up more houses necessarily.
Yeah.
You're now trying to strategically hoard them.
Okay, so to prevent the last player from developing.
Precisely. By keeping a 3-house balance on your properties, you prevent them from building hotels and racking up those high rents.
Oh, that's a key move to keep them under pressure.
Okay, guys, so that's really high level what they just said right there, because in the game of Monopoly, there's only a certain amount of houses that are available in the entire game. And so if you strategically put houses on your property so that other people can't buy those houses, instead of upgrading your houses to a hotel, which would then put the houses back into circulation, you should just sit on those houses so they can't build. And that's absolutely beautiful, and that's something that you should do at the end of the game. And so Monopoly, guys, obviously is not a super high level thing to understand, but the example of Monopoly definitely demonstrates how in-depth the notebookLM can go with basically any topic that you send it. And we only sent in 3 different sources, right? So you can send up to 50 sources. And so learning things from scratch would be notebookLM. Once you learn it, then you can implement it with Google Flash. And then once you run into some errors with Google Flash, you can ask Claude on how to actually fix the errors. And so this is the workflow that I'm personally using to get ahead in learning AI as fast as fucking humanly possible. So